Oh, hello. Do you think that Big Brother is watching you? Or that the Illuminati are planning to take over the world? Have you had an encounter with a space alien today? Well, if the answer to those questions is yes, then grab your hat, because this is tinfoil hat time. Greetings and welcome back to Tinfoil Hat Time. Today, we are going to have a look at those Internet Overlords who are seeking to take over the world. So, in our world, I mean, worlds of course change, and of course around the turn of last century, around the turn of 1900s, 1800s to 1900s, we had this pesky stuff called electricity that some people's like, it's of the devil, and some people are like, everyone needs it, and it's what started to happen is we realized that everyone kind of needs this, and we need some degree of control over it. And so things were put into place to make sure that we had access to the utilities. So since then, of course, we have electricity, we have water, we have gas lines. These are generally municipal type utilities, also picking up waste and things like that. And the question, the biggest question facing this current generation is, what do we do about the internet? Is it just something that we leave in the hands of the corporations to self-regulate? Or is it something that the government actually needs to get a handle on and say this is a municipal utility because it is required for the pacing of our society? And if you think of it, it should be, because it is beyond stupid. It is beyond stupid. But if you look at Social Security stuff, maybe if you have, parents or grandparents moving into that age of Social Security, it's like Social Security really wants you to do everything on the internet and direct deposits and things, which leaves a massive ton of elderly people scams because they just don't understand or grasp the internet. But our whole world is moving to an online only place. Even here in Pennsylvania, we no longer get the statements in the mail to fill out for the registration cards for our car, send it back to the state, and then they mail us a sticker. Everything effectively is done on the internet. You can get on the internet to download the forms to do what you need to do, but you still need the internet to get on to do basic societal things, like look for a job, like register your car, like file for welfares. In fact, a friend of mine, has a hobby of adopting children, and I think 7 of them now. I forget. But as he's going through, he's always telling the stories about, I want to go down and do that, and they just say go online and fill out the forms over there first. It's like, internet is such an integral part of our society, for better or for worse. It has to be regulated as a municipal utility. And that is exactly why Wheeler at the FCC labeled it as, what was the word he used? I've been blocking this stuff out of my head for so long. A common carrier. He labeled it as common carrier status because that puts it on the same plane as the power and as the water and as the gas and as, everything else. And so with that, internet has become such an integral, ingrained part of who we are as a modern society that it must maintain that degree of status. It must. We as a society are dependent on the internet. That is my first point. We are dependent on the internet. And so this raises another question. Who provides the internet? As it stands right now, we have a total corporatocracy, oligarchy controlling the internet. Because we can say there are a lot of providers. In reality, there are not. Unlikely, most people in a more urban area have access to probably one high-speed internet company that is sufficient for modern society. Rural people generally have Zipolo. no ability of having good broadband internet in a time when it is effectively a requirement to engage in society without living in a cave somewhere. And even then you kind of have internet because, you know, we walk around with our mobile phones. It can be used as a mobile hotspot. So when I'm on top of a mountain on the Grand Canyon, I can turn on my hotspot and get on the internet and check my email. And that's a little scary, okay? But the thing is that we have no competition because although we have two huge conglomerate competitors, they have almost no overlap. They have no overlap. And they even want to merge. Scary. There's no overlap. And so what happens is we have to take control back and say we need more active competition from these groups. And what does it take to do that? Well, the best things was net neutrality, which didn't necessarily deal with our access as much as the information on it. And of course, that is under assault and probably will be gone within the next few months. But secondly, privacy on the internet, since we all effectively have to have an internet connection, we need some degree of privacy with the internet. Okay, and kind of the same goes with the power and everything else. We need a degree of privacy. That has been eroded away, so the privacy's already gone. Net neutrality will be gone. Now we need competition so that we drive the prices down. Because here in the United States, and you folks that are international will probably attest to this, here in the United States, we have the most horrible speeds with the most money. Because corporations in the form of corporatocracy and oligarchy are in complete control over the networks. They are our internet overlords. This article here is one of the negative nanny articles. So this article here is, this is from The Hill, which I don't know much about The Hill, but I'm pretty sure it's not a really reliable news source. So this is The Hill, the false promise of municipal broadband networks. Look at this. America's thirst for better and faster internet is insatiable. Well, yeah, that only happens because companies keep on doing crappier and crappier websites with no optimization and loading boatloads of JavaScript and not giving us access to good, clean internet. Okay, that's fine. All right, the quest for more never really ends. Good way to open up with really bad taste in my mouth, thank you. Some local governments have been tempted to try and meet the demands themselves by building and operating broadband networks of their own, leveraging existing public infrastructure and rights of way, and hoping to generate economies of scale and bring new government-subsidized competition broadband. The problem is building and operating broadband network is expensive and complex. So, of course, they're all going through and they look at the civic horror stories. The iProvo network cost the city $39 million and was sold for Google for $1. They are legion. They're everywhere. According to new data, over half of these fiber systems failed to bring in enough revenue. Okay, this is interesting. This is new data. This new data is actually from this group here. This is a Municipal Fiber United States, an empirical assessment of financial performance by Christopher Yu and Timothy Feiner from the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Competition. Who is the Center for Technology, Innovation, and Competition? That's a good question. Let's look them up real quick, shall we? Let's go with Center for Technology, Innovation, and Competition. Sounds like a very upstanding group that just has a lot of stuff. Oh, there's an about page. Let's see, who are they about? Funding and supporters. Oh, here's their current supporters. American Tower, AT&T, Broadband for America, Cellular Operators of Association of India? Comcast, CTIA, Facebook, Google, ICANN, Information Technology, Intel, Internet Society, Microsoft, National Science Foundation, NCTA, New York Bar Foundation, Qualcomm, Time Warner Cable, Verizon, and the Walt Disney Co. Sounds like they have some very, very neutral, disinterested parties funding their report. Okay, so this article here is pretty not so good. So this entire report now is completely suspect. And that's one of their major references. So they have basically picked on a few of these systems that haven't worked that I don't know a whole lot about. But as I was reading through this one, dollars gone down the drain as the government-owned broadband networks. The experiment of these is over and the experiment has failed. I don't know. Does anybody know anything about digital library? I have no idea who these people are. But I get down to the bottom. This fascinating. There's one comment from the city they're talking about in here, and he tears the thing apart. So I don't know anything about these digital liberty people. I don't know what their bias is or anything else. Let's go and have a look at their about. Let's see who they're about. Advocates free market technology, communications, and media. Okay. Digital Library believes free markets and consumer choice, not state or federal bureaucracies, should determine American technology landscapes. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Does that mean lobbyist group? I really don't know. I'm not sure. But here we have this entire article is based on all these different things. Now, another one I found is, where's the thing here? Is this, nah... Speed test. Okay, this is good. San Francisco, a city with more than 8 different providers. 8 different providers. This is interesting. Okay, so is anybody from San Francisco? Can you tell me if this is accurate? Because I know if I come up here and I enter my zip code, I know that this is not accurate. Okay, Broadband Now is a place that's supposed to tell you all of the offerings you have. We have Xfinity for $150 is the fastest speed for $49.95. No, actually, that costs about $100, bare minimum. I have negotiated the best negotiating I can possibly get from these scumbags, and I'm paying $60, and I think I get $100 up if I upgrade my modem. The next option that I have is actually to drop down to like 5. I have nothing in between. I can do 5, which costs me $50, or I can do 100 that costs me $60. Nothing in between. And guess what? 5 is not enough to live. Verizon has speeds up to 15 Mbps. This is not actually correct. Verizon has never topped 5 Mbps in this city. Never. And it's actually the cost is about twice this. Windstream is actually not available here in either DSL or cable, and I have called and looked for those. Here's wireless providers, 100 Mbps. This is not going to be a reliable place to get a home-based internet system. And then we have our satellite companies. HughesNet actually gets about 1 to 2 Mbps. And the rate is actually about double this. So nothing on this website is accurate for my town, and I'm aware of my town because I'm always shopping this kind of stuff. Okay, so automatically it's like, okay, Broadband Now, California, I don't know if this is particularly accurate or not, but I can say based upon what I see for my town and for other towns I'm aware of, I imagine that this is not actually accurate. Okay? And then, of course, what happens in this town here, why do I have Comcast despite I hate them? Because I have zero other choice. I have Comcast or I have something approximately the speed of 56K dial-up. And that is certainly a problem. Let's see. We had a look at that. Oh, this article again. Okay, all right. This is good here. Let's see, the Taxpayer Protection Alliance, the Dirty Dozen. Yet another lobbyist group, actually, telling us about the Dirty Dozen municipalities that have hurt themselves financially in this. A lot of what you're seeing here is propaganda, and we're going to get a little bit more into this propaganda in a minute. So these are all, I think, from the last couple months or so. Republican, of course, I hate it when they try and put the political spin on this. Stop whining about the Republicans. Just say the stupid government. Stupid governments fight against municipal broadband heats up in Michigan. So basically, Michigan's kind of sitting here saying, hey, we need to do something because, you know, all of our completely out of work people who have to be on the internet are getting charged an arm and a leg by Comcast. Let's figure out something else to do. And so basically they're saying that now in this case here, a municipality can still, create a local network, but they can't use any federal, state, or local funds to do it. And of course this is coming out because of all of the Comcast misinformation about how much, basically how much problem people are losing in places where they're implementing this incorrectly. So basically what they're saying is these guys shot down the bill. They said a qualifying service is, they say 10 upstream and 1 downstream. And of course, somebody here in the article says that that's probably a misprint. It should be, you know, 10 downstream and 1 upstream. But, you know, they're politicians. Do we really expect they know anything about what they pass laws on? No, don't expect that. When asked about this, she said, you'd have to speak with the attorneys who wrote the bill. Excuse me, you'll have to go speak with the Comcast guy who wrote the bill. Oh. All right. So it does not provide an exception for existing projects. So here's why this actually happened, to get to the bottom of it. There was a group that was putting this together very successfully to get this rural location a municipal broadband that actually worked, was cost effective, and everything else. But then Comcast, CenturyLink, AT&T, I guess it was CenturyLink, AT&T, and Charter. So I guess it was they're in a Time Warner area, not a Comcast. So basically they came in and they essentially, you know, paid off some politicians to make sure that this bill was passed, which removed that exception. Usually if something's in the works and a bill is passed, it's usual to grandfather some things in, you know, and in this case that would have been something grandfathered in, except in this case they're like, no, we don't want this. So this guy here leaves the comment, so the Community Broadbands Network is a group trying to raise awareness and help fund some of these projects. And so they're saying that what HB 5099 really is about is continuation war on broadband competition by CenturyLink, AT&T, and Charter Spectrum. This bill is not likely to die the quick death it deserves. The rep says she's helping taxpayers. Yes, we're helping taxpayers so that you guys can pay a whole lot more money. All right. Of course, this one here is from just a couple days ago. AT&T admits defeat in the lawsuit that filed to stall Google Fiber. Okay, it takes Google to fight these guys. Okay, this is like, I'm standing with Google. I don't want to stand with Google. I'm standing with Google. They're kind of like figuring out that, yeah, maybe Google's not the one we fight. Okay, I'm kind of rooting for Google on their bid to bring fiber to places. I think that they'll do it well. I hate to say that, but yeah, you know what? Yeah, the small municipalities, they don't have the budget to compete with these guys, but Google, they do. They'll be like, AT&T, let's bring it. I bet Alphabet's got more money than you. And we could probably turn off all of your campaign stuff because nobody finds anything without Google anymore. And so. Finally, AT&T, basically, this was in Louisville. Google wanted to come down here and start working on it. They're like, it's going to cost a lot of money. Google's like, all right. And they're like, politicians, please make it stop. We paid you all this money. And Google's like, And they're like, we're not fighting Google. Well, we'll fight that little grassroots group that has an operating expense budget of $10,000 this year. We're not going against Google. No. All right. So that was that one. So it's really sad if we're going to have to rely on Google as our ally against these internet overlords. Verizon, though, does have a new strategy to undermine the online privacy and net neutrality. Yep. Verizon and Comcast both did this strategy. They both submitted a very similar letter to the FCC saying that we know you're going to get rid of net neutrality, FCC, and we know you've already gotten rid of privacy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That allows us to collect a lot of data on all the people for all the services they have to use. And then what's going to happen but now that that's going to happen, the states are going to pass laws to hurt us even more. Protect us, Mr. God Pie. Protect us, God Pie. Protect us, Mr. Pie. And so Verizon and Comcast are both petitioned the FCC last week and this week to make it a law that a state may not preempt net neutrality and internet privacy collection stuff. This is just freaky, people. This is just freaky. These people need closed down. They need closed down. Of course, this is Comcast's bid. Of course, I talked about these in a little bit more detail yesterday. Comcast has a lot to lose if municipal broadband takes off. They do. Comcast revenue could take a big hit in 2 cities that might build networks. Oh, poor Comcast. They could lose significant amounts of revenue in cities that build their own municipal broadband networks. A new analysis suggests. Oh my God, have pity. We need to stop raising awareness of this. We need to let Comcast take over again. We need to stop these 2 pesky cities. Comcast and trade groups that belong to Comcast. Gotta mark my place in the comments. There we are. Comcast and trade groups that Comcast belongs to made some well-placed political donations as elections next week in Seattle, Washington, and Fort Collins, Colorado, could determine whether the cities pursue municipal broadband projects. With that in mind, the Institute for Local Self-Reliance's Community Broadband Networks initiative analyzed how much revenue Comcast stands to lose if both cities build their own broadband networks. Evidence from other cities suggests that real choice in broadband services could reduce Comcast's revenues by millions of dollars per month. The group, which advocates for municipal broadband projects, wrote in a policy brief. Competition in Fort Collins would cost Comcast between $5.4 and $22.8 million per year. In Seattle, robust competition could cost between $20 million and $84 million per year. All right, so to be fair, this advocacy group, Community Broadband Network, this is a group to stand behind if you really want to help stand behind this project, because they're helping to raise awareness and money for the municipalities to have their own broadbands. All right. So, but in their analysis, they say, yeah, Comcast can stand to lose several $1 million. And so guess what? They're going to do whatever they can to keep this. It's not much compared to Comcast's overall revenue, which is $62.6 billion. Okay, so assuming the highest level taking together, this is 100 million. If the highest case analysis on both of these cities together is 100 million, that will only drop their total revenue to 62.5 billion. Pardon me while I play some violin music for Comcast. Their revenue will possibly drop to $62.5 billion. What a loss! Seattle and Fort Collins are just 2 cities out of Comcast's natural footprints that spans 39 states and Washington, D.C. Hit to Comcast business could be substantial if lots of cities gave residents a choice for broadband access. Good! Let them die! That's why broadband lobbyists have been pushing state laws to restrict municipal broadband, and an effort has been successful in about 20 states. And that is why Comcast and similar companies didn't stand idly by when individual cities and towns started building their own networks. So Muni Broadband's in local. In Seattle, Comcast donated $25,000 to a political group run by Seattle Chamber of Commerce. This is why I don't support Chambers of Commerce anymore. I've been members of Chambers of Commerce before. I've decided to no longer be members of Chambers of Commerce. I think that all they are is stupid like lobby and union groups, and frankly, they don't do a real good job of supporting the people. In fact, here's the thing that pissed me off the most about anything is that we have a local Chamber of Commerce. We have 5 web developers in town. They're hiring some people out of Indiana to build their website for them. You got 5 local people in town. I'm not saying you got to hire me, but choose one of the 5 people that live in the damn town you have rather than outsourcing it to some other state to do your website, which, by the way, their website sucks. It's horrible. And you want me to pay you $300 a month for nothing? So anyway, Comcast is paying $25,000 to this political group. The Durkin spokesman contacted Arts after the story published. He said, "We'd love to have the municipal broadband, but the city cannot afford a $700 million network at this time." Figure comes from a 2001 study. The study released in 2015 pegged the cost of $480 to $665 million. That the project would pay for itself by signing up 43% of customers for $75 a month. In Fort Collins, residents will vote on a ballot question that would authorize the city to build broadband network. Comcast is a member of two groups that have collectively spent $210,000 to fund a campaign against municipal broadband proposal, which, by the way, was fake news. They spread a whole $210,000 of complete misinformation on a very small region in Colorado. And they did that in the past. And why'd they spend 10 times more in Colorado than they did in Seattle? We'll talk about why that is in a minute. All right. And so in Fort Collins, let's see, 2 groups are the Colorado Cable Telecommunications Association and a group run by the city's Chamber of Commerce. Once again, Chamber of Commerce shows up. Oh, Chambers of Commerce, you are so horrible. Update. The Colorado Telecommunications Association has provided another donation of $175. Oh, okay, so that brought it back up. Okay, I didn't read that part earlier. To the anti-municipal broadband campaign, according to new filing, the anti-muni broadband group has spent over $451,000 now, and we spent about $10,000, says the pro-municipal group. See, here is one of the things that we need to do. If we want to correct a lot of the bad government, number 1, completely ban all lobby groups. Number 2, nobody that is not a personal individual may donate anything to a political candidate, and nobody can pay any more than a certain cap. Say $1,000 is the most any one person can donate to any one person, period, under any circumstance. You do that kind of stuff, we're going to start seeing laws change really fast. All right. Small price to pay for monopoly benefits. If Comcast can avoid competition, its political donations will be worth the cost. So again, by spending $210,000 in this area, they seek to keep, what was that, like $5 million? That's the thing, all right? So a few of thousands of dollars is a small price to pay to secure the millions in monopoly profits this year, the Community Broadband Networks Initiative policy have said. Okay, when you're actually making those statements and you're making it sound like a good thing, oh, where's my violin again? Oh, poor Comcast. Oh, poor Comcast. They're going to lose some revenue. Poor Comcast. Their CEO will have to sell one of his yachts. Comcast has had about 138,000 subscribers in Seattle at the end of 2016, and I bet 139,000 of those did not want to choose Comcast. Thank you. In Fort Collins, 37,000. Based on municipal broadband networks in other cities, we would expect Comcast to lose between 20 and 30% of market share and suffer a drop in the average revenue per user from remaining subscribers due to more intense price community competition, the brief said. Dude, this is printed! This is printed! This is printed! What is going on? I did it, I went on fire. This makes no sense to me. These are people, lobbyist groups, that are literally writing these statements. A few $1,000s is a small price to pay to secure tens of millions of dollars in monopoly profits per year. Okay, that is, of course, from the pro group. From the opposite group, they're saying we would expect them to lose 20-30% of their Comcast and the remaining subscribers due to more intense competition. This is why we have anti-monopoly laws. This is why we need competition. Because every one of these municipal broadband things that have worked, they have come in It allowed competition, and Comcast said, "Ah, we don't have a captive audience anymore. We have to provide better service for a lower cost." That's what competition does. But you know who that's bad for? That's bad for the CEOs. It's bad for the executives. It's bad for the shareholders. Because when every bit of your business is about increasing your revenue, you see your customers as pieces of meat. And Comcast, we as a people are not pieces of meat. We're not. We're not your fodder. We're not your slaves. Although you treat us like your slaves. Because right here is the company overview of Comcast. Mr. Brian Roberts, the chairman and CEO, has $3 million. And by the way, this is his salary. This is not his bonuses. This is his salary. Looking over here, he has made this year, this is 2016 financial data, he made $28.6 million. $3 million is this guy's salary. So that means that his bonuses was about $25.6 million in bonuses. His base pay was just a measly $3 million. I mean, that's just tiddlywinks. And then he received 10,000 bonuses and non-equity incentive for a total cash pay. Money dropped into his account. Last year, 2016, was $13.68 million. And then he received $5,000 in stocks with another $5,000 as an extra option as well. So an extra $10 million in stock. And then 4,000, it just says total other. I really want to know what this guy had for $4 million total other. We think, does the IRS know what total other is? I'd like to know what total other is. So this guy has made $28.6 million in 2016. Begs a fascinating question. How much are the employees making? Well, let's see. Your account execs make about $38,000 a year, which, by the way, is not enough to live on. Your sales associates have $55,000. Your basic guys that you're calling on the phone, yeah, they make about $12 an hour. Your retail sales associates about $40, which is, yeah, you still can't live on that. Oh, the communication technician, $13.54 per hour. These are not really good wages, people. Your CEO gets $5 million in other compensation, and your employees are scraping ends together, and they cannot even eat, they cannot even make ends meet, especially when you're raising their prices as well. Of course, this is from Glassdoor, so, 13, about 14 to $20 an hour is what their wages are, according to Glassdoor there. Here's another one who's this from PayScale, reports the same, about 13 to $20 an hour. And so, let's go back and have a look at these corporate execs again. Oh, what about this Kavanaugh guy? His base pay was only $1.8 million. I don't know. I hope he's going to be able to pay his bills. I don't know how this guy's doing. Let's see if I can find out more information about him. I mean, come on. These guys might be losing some money. Oh, his total compensation was only $46 million. I mean, he's scraping to make by, man. He's scraping to make by. His breakdown, let's see. He had a $2.7 million salary, stock options, other compensations, exercise options. So an extra $9 million in options. And then we had, his total comp, $46 million. You're making $46 million and you're paying your massive employees barely enough to make ends meet. And they're worried about, we might lose revenue. We'll lose $0.1 billion this year, and that's going to hurt us. When that's the situation, the company's gotten too big. Stop supporting the company. That's kind of crazy. This is Longmont, Colorado. So Longmont, Colorado, they had a successful story a number of years ago, and the reason we bring it up now is because what happened is they started doing this stuff, and then Comcast came in with a whole bunch of misinformation. They spent like $200,000 to beat it. In fact, down here they, let's see, found themselves bitterly opposed by telecommunication companies which spent nearly $200,000 to defeat the measure. It was at this time the single most expensive election in city history until 2011, when the telecommunication companies poured more than $400,000 to fight the plan a second time. So what happened is the first time it just about failed, but then people said, why are we listening to Comcast all this much? And then they started looking into it and realizing that Comcast had a major incentive for this bill not to pass. And so the people passed it anyway. And what happened in Longmont? So basically this is just a giant power struggle between Comcast and the citizens of Longmont, who eventually overwhelmingly voted. It was like, oh, I forget what the voting was. I don't remember if it's listed in here. But it was this overwhelming vote to pass it. And what happened in results of this passing? Well, Gig City was formed. Their residential services are 1 gig for $50 a month. When this happened, Comcast had to lower their price and increase their speed. They had no choice but to lower their price and increase their speed. But as long as Comcast can maintain that stranglehold and keep these municipal broadband companies out, as long as they can do that, as long as they can keep them out, they don't have to do anything about service. They don't have to do anything at all about quality, and they don't have to do anything about price. They have captive audiences because they know I can either use them and actually have internet, or I can use some dial-up company. And so they will give me the worst service they can possibly give me, and they will charge me as much as they can possibly charge me. And I'm going to take a moment here and talk about something that's not necessarily on my list, something to keep an eye on. Comcast, along with a lot of other companies, Comcast is now trying to get as many people as they possibly can to auto pay their bill. Just put in your credit card, just save it, and it will just auto pay it every single month, no problems, no late fees again, blah, blah, blah. The problem is that they're doing this, and the vastest majority of people who sign up on auto payments never look at their bill. And what Comcast does is they will go into a random accounts and just add extra stuff you don't actually have. This has been so documented. In fact, if you haven't been watching my channel for a while, I have a video where I consensually recorded a conversation with Comcast. This is after the 5th time they attempted to add a $10 modem rental fee onto my phone for my modem that I bought in 2005. 10 times, or 5 times, excuse me, they are adding $10 a month onto my line. So I recorded the phone conversations, and I literally have a phone conversation of them saying, yes, some back-end auditor who doesn't read our notes just decides arbitrarily to add modem rental fees to various accounts. I said, how can I talk to these people? She says, you can. I said, can you talk to these people? She says, we can't. Nobody can talk to them. It's just back-end auditors that pull up accounts and add modem rental fees. I have this on tape. I actually have a video of it on my channel. You can go back through the archives and find that. I'll try and remember to put a card for that video up here, so you'll get a chance to actually listen to that call if you want to listen to that call. But for crying out loud, these people are slimy. And when a municipal broadband comes in and is successful at providing a better service for a lower price for their citizens, Comcast says, we actually now have to we now have to charge less money and provide better service, because otherwise they leave. And you know what? And these lobbyist groups are coming in saying, this is so bad for Comcast that they have to lower their prices. For crying out loud! For crying out loud! What is so bad about serving your customers? But that's what these internet overlords have no concept of. They're like, which one of these guys can we bend over the table today? Oh yeah, this is a different one for me. You can kind of tell my love for Comcast. But this is what Longmont did. Of course, over here, Comcast buys the election. This is a little bit more about talking about Comcast paying their tens and hundreds of thousands to buy the elections effectively. See, this is why lobbyist groups, this is why when a company gets too big, they're too powerful. This is why we broke up Standard Oil, people. This is why we broke up Standard Oil. Comcast needs broken up into 100 little companies, give each state 3 of them, and they can get no bigger than that. That's it. Break them up. They're too big. And we need to stop all companies and all lobbyist groups paying for elections. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. And then no person should be able to donate more than a certain amount to any one politician. Period. You put those things into place, and then the 4th thing you need to put into place is you need to break the corporate veil of legal responsibility. You do those 4 things, America will be changed in less than a generation. They will be changed in less than a generation. Of course, Fort Collins is now looking for Longmont for their strategy because, of course, this all just came up in the recent elections, and of course, here is 2 more Colorado cities vote for municipal broadband. So this is kind of moving, and what we're starting to see in Colorado is that these are actually working. These systems are working. And as these systems are working, what happens is it increases competition. It puts the various the various control back into the people. It lowers the prices. And guys, we don't. What is it with Comcast trying to raise prices? What do you think that this country is made of money? This country is so on a tinge financially. We're standing at the edge, and all Comcast wants to do is see how much more money they can extract from us all. That's what they're trying to do. These guys are Internet Overlords. And we need to rise up against the Internet Overlords. All right, so those are the articles I wanted to talk about. So the best thing that we can do in regards to all this is that the government should own the infrastructure for providing the services. And then with them providing the services, then the ISPs should have competition. We should have at least 3 or 4 individual providers who can use the government-owned networks and pay the government a wholesale rate in order to use those systems. Do that, and it should help pay for itself, and it should pay for itself pretty much most of the way. And that way, you increase the competition. I mean, that's what happened with the telephone companies. That's what happened with the power companies. That's what happened with the oil companies. That's what has to happen with the internet companies. Why is it that we have to keep repeating the same mistakes in history? Why do we have to keep repeating those same mistakes? We don't have to. We don't have to. We just have to act. And of course, on top of that, I'm going to say the other things we need to do. We need to get rid of lobbyists. Remove the ability of any corporation to pay for, buy, or in any way support any political party or candidate. We need to put a individual spending limit of a fairly low amount of each of an individual to any one candidate for any one calendar year. May not pay any more than that. And we need to break the veil of corporate responsibility and hold all corporate executives criminally liable for any violations of the law. Do those things. We're going to clean this country up. We need to start cleaning the country up here. And I'm going to have a final word here on VPNs because I talked a little bit here about privacy and net neutrality, and particularly in regards to privacy. People are like, well, the best way around privacy is to get a VPN. No, all you're doing with a VPN is kicking the can down the road. Now, if you trust the VPN provider more than you trust the ISP, then it's probably better to go with the VPN provider. But the reality is there's still more regulation on ISP than there is on a VPN provider, particularly if you're outsourcing the VPN provider to another country. I think, in my opinion, all of this VPN stuff, every bit of it, is just jumping on the bandwagon of ISP privacies and VPNs will help. All you're doing is taking 100% of that information that an ISP could otherwise see, and now you're letting a VPN company see all that stuff. You're just kicking it on down the road. We need stronger laws on the ISP level. We need to keep those stronger laws on the ISP level and maybe bring them back because, our stupid Congress killed them. But The VPN itself is more of a gimmick than anything. In fact, I've seen, as I studied and researched VPNs, I've seen a ton of VPNs that their entire premise is to get you onto their VPN so they can harvest your data. It's the same exact thing. So no, a VPN is not the magic bullet here, and we need to stop pushing that information. A VPN purpose is to connect you to a separate network. It has the byproduct of protecting some of that traffic, for sure. I'll grant you that. But nevertheless, a VPN is not a magic bullet, and we need to stop pushing that it is. Okay? You have to ask yourself, do you trust the VPN more than you trust the ISP? And even those that have said, we don't log data, if we find that, yeah, in fact, they have been logging data. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. So thank you for watching. If you would like to help support what we are doing, you can check out switch2linux.com/support, and you can learn about the ways that you can help us out. So thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.